Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Sniper Elite V2 on Sniper Elite difficulty. This is mission 6 of 10. It's entitled Tiergarten, Flak Tower. So, 2 enemies to dispatch right there. And this is a little compensation for the last chapter as far as the disappointment that I had for the last chapter, which I expressed during that video. And I think it's a little bit more of a return to form. I mean, if you're going to have gunfights, having them with just a few enemies on different levels here works very well. So we're almost, I would say, we're about halfway through with this. When I originally played this game, I think I picked up the demo for it quite a while ago. We're talking like a year ago, and I didn't realize that it was such a long campaign, and I'm glad it is. My impression of what this was, or at least what I thought it was a lot less gunfights, and I thought it would be like 4 or 6 stages where you would just have like an execution to do, like finding a route with stealth, and you know, just doing an execution per chapter. That's what I thought it was, and it is a little bit like that as far as the stealth aspect, but you aren't taking out a mark on every chapter, although at the conclusion of this chapter you do take out an enemy whose name I forgot. But boy, the chapter ends with a really difficult fight. Once you actually get to the roof of the flak tower, that it didn't take me too long, but like when I was doing it, it just felt like, damn, I just kept thinking to myself, am I on the final chapter? Because this certainly feels like something that would be on a final chapter, because it's really hard. But what I think might save this game from people that wouldn't want to play it, or excuse me, that you know, if you're on the fence about stealth games, because a lot of people come to my channel after finding my Ninja Gaiden 2 videos, and they're not necessarily interested in these types of games. But if you're on the fence about this game, it doesn't have the punishing nature of the game whose name I keep forgetting. What's it called? It's not Spec Ops: The Line. It is Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and that may be the case. I mean, I have not completed this game yet. However, on Spec Ops: The Line, what the fuck am I talking about? Ghost Recon Future Soldier, you would have scenarios where if you didn't do it in a stealthy manner, if you got seen, it would be game over for you, and the game would dissolve into a fail state. But I am aware that this is a sequel to an Xbox game, and I haven't played that game, so I don't know too much the history of this game. But I was also watching some gameplay of this, and the last known position is something that is on the easier difficulties, but which is absent from this difficulty. And again, it's one of those things where, you know, especially if you like watch my videos and you think to yourself, well, I just can't do that. I mean, playing on the hardest difficulty, it's not something I can do. You know, I need these crutches, and they really are crutches, because when you think about it, what is being denied to you on this difficulty is the threat indicator, which basically has different color shades on the actual HUD to indicate like where enemies are and their aggro status. So if for instance there is somebody in the red who's in immediate danger, you'll have a little red aura. If somebody is a little bit further away and is not completely targeting you, you might have them in orange. and other people might be in white. I believe that's what it is. I've only ever played on this difficulty, but you've got that, and you've got a reticle assistance, meaning that I think it's sort of like a lock-on that kind of starts like a square, starts large, and then as you target in the enemy, it gets kind of small, so you know where to shoot. And then you have that last known position, as well as marking targets, which I don't know if that makes the game easier, and I don't think it does. Anyway, so yeah, this is a kind of long video, and these are always pretty difficult to talk over, but I do my best, and I hope you can, you know, tolerate it if you don't need the help. So we have to come down here. We have a checkpoint, and I believe that these trip mines that I'm putting down are not going to be used, unfortunately, and unfortunately as well, you can't pick them up if they go unused, which I find kind of baffling, to be honest, that you can't pick them up. So we need to get to the Flak tower, you guys, and then get to its roof, and then from that roof location take out a target. And I kind of enjoyed this chapter. It was refreshing after that last chapter, to be sure. So there's different stages of aggroed enemies in this game. If let's just put it this way, if they don't see you, but they do see their downed compatriots, they will go to a semi-alert status where, you know, like in other games where if they see a body fallen, they're going to go investigate it, and then they're going to go into a different stance where they're essentially hunting you. But even on this difficulty, I don't feel like prey. I don't feel like prey that's getting hunted. It's really not like that. The only time that I'm worried is when I'm seen and people are shooting at me and actually running to me, and I know enemies are spawning out of thin air near me to compensate for everything. And it's uncanny how the game knows where you are all the time. It's kind of funny. So when I do these sequences, I do not like to go in guns blazing. If you watch my Ghost Recon Future Soldier guide, you know that that's a last resort for me, because when you boil it down, that isn't how the game is supposed to be played, so you're going to have a harder time like that. And I also feel like I have an upper hand, and that I'm getting more progress made when I'm stealthily killing enemies. So you kind of walk a line when you think about how you want to play, you know. I just think that on this game, it's a lot harder than other stealth games to not kill anybody and just sneak past things. It's really difficult to do that. Admittedly, I'm not doing that, but I am being secretive. I'm moving around stealthily. I'm picking off guys, and you know, even that is pretty demanding. So the way I like to play is just to pick off guys, pick off as many guys as possible, you know, and not have something like this happen, which is kind of, you know, when you spend so much time on these checkpoints, there has to come a point where, you know, you just, at least I feel like I can't put any more time into this. You know, if I spent hours upon hours on every checkpoint, this guide would just take too long to make. So anyway, so we're gonna get a checkpoint here, and you won't get one for quite some time, but you won't need one because I have some pretty good paths here. So you sneak in here. There's two guys talking there with their backs to you. There's going to be one guy in another trench coat walking up the stairs. So stay right here. And I have turned up the settings to high. And when I get my rig a little bit more fortified with that extra RAM, I will be putting this on ultra for you guys. But I think by then the guide will be done. So anyway, the guy to the left won't see you, but the guy to the right will see you unless the stairs are blocking the way. So you want to come up here now, get right up behind him, and either put a well-rod bullet into his head or just break his neck, let him drop. And the problem now is that there's going to be another guy coming up right over here, and I wish this game was just a little bit more lenient about the tunnel of vision on these enemies when you're perpendicular to them. Like an enemy walking like this in other games, like I'm thinking of like The Last of Us, like this right here. He wouldn't. They let you get away with it because it's just a bad situation to be. And I know it's not the most realistic thing, but this isn't the most realistic venue that we're playing. This is the video game. So I just think that, you know, when you're perpendicular to enemies, they shouldn't see you. And it's not to make the game harder, it's just to make it a little bit more playable, in my opinion. And sometimes they do cut you a break, but it's very rare. So we're going to go up these stairs now, secure another checkpoint. And we will, at the end of this video, we'll be running out of this location. So try to remember your surroundings here. So there's some lovely pop-in right there. And fortunately, we do not have to kill anybody in this room. You want to stop for a second over here. The guy to the right behind us will not see you. But make sure this guy goes all the way to the right. There's going to be a couple more people over there, but they're indisposed. And we're going to take a left and get one of the final checkpoints of the chapter. I think it's like the third from last checkpoint, and boy, this is really, really hard. Just because there are a lot of enemies, it's extremely simple to get killed in this game. So, coming up here now, what I like to do is to go up this way. And there are some guys manning these gun turrets, but they have no bearing on the situation, and I will be killing one at the end. But this is the path that I like to go first. I like to stay right here, and I'm just going to use my assault rifle to take him down. And the ambient sound is going to mask your shots, and as of right now, these enemies cannot see you through those standing lamps that are turned off right now, but they can otherwise. It's just that that guy doesn't see you. But this particular guy, you want to wait on him to go stand next to the ship's edge, and he'll just stand there for a moment. But do not let him start walking up the stairs to you. So take him out immediately. And then what we're basically going to do, because I just don't think this can be stealthed, like completely stealthed without them realizing where you are. So what we're going to be doing is just systematically picking people off. And again, the reason that that guy wasn't alerted was because the shot missed him and the ambient noise was in the background. So with those two guys killed, I am going to backtrack now. I wouldn't move any bodies unless you think it might work. And I'm going to keep quiet because this took me it was about an hour, to be honest. And there's somebody in the control tower as well, but we're going to deal with him later. So in my opinion, there's one location that's better than all of the rest as far as nobody's going to sneak up on you. Not really anyway, except if they go up these stairs here. But the other places where they might come up, they don't. But it's symmetrical, that's the problem. So in theory, they could, if their paths are disrupted, they could come up these stairs to the right or to the left, like from where I'm at. So as long as you're being quiet, they're not going to have their paths disrupted. So we're going to shoot guys from range, take these guys out, and throw a couple of rocks just to get people over here. Yeah, this is... I don't know if it was hard. It was just a really suspenseful for me, but I should say I do want to backpedal a little bit on what I said. They're really... Since everything is so symmetrical, it's all the same on every angle over here. I can't say that it's all like there's one place that's safer than most. It's all equally. I don't think dangerous is the right word. It's just any location where you're at, you're not always going to be safe unless you keep quiet. And it doesn't even seem like you are being quiet when you're picking guys off, but you really are. So you may have seen in that last cinematic that when the bullet hit that guy, there was a guy in the background on the chair. I think he got up at some point. I think he did hear something, but he never got out of the office. Okay, and then there's a guy down here too as well who walks up and down the stairs. So we're gonna pick these guys off. I wouldn't say this is luck because I don't believe in luck, as I mentioned in my DMC4 SE guide on chapter, I think it was 11. Luck implies a mysticism, and I don't believe in the supernatural, but I do believe in fortune, like good fortune, you know, fortunate things happening to one just because that's what's happening as a coincidence. And I think that some of these events did coincide in such a manner that I had some, you know, fortunate thing, just some good fortune, but not anything that is in the supernatural realm. You know, I'm a big believer in naturalism, the belief that, you know, nature cannot be controlled. We're at her behest, and that's why I just don't believe in luck. So anyway, I'm being a very tentative player at this point because the music didn't stop, and I was uncertain. You know, I didn't want to lose all this progress because this is hard-earned progress, and I was doing particularly well here, if I have to say so myself. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but there's one enemy on the other side, like a carbon copy of the second guy that we killed. And I'll show you I'll show you the guy in a minute. And since I did a lot of searching over here, a lot of soul searching, just kidding. Since I did a lot of moving around, picking the guys off from the turrets, searching the corpses for loot that I ended up not needing, I do have an edit over here, and I'll show you exactly where it is. And if for some reason the door isn't open for you, it may be because you need to kill these guys coming up right up here, but I don't think they have any involvement in the door opening. I'll show you which one it is. Like this right here, this was the first time I ever saw one of these guys here. I was just thinking to myself, what the hell is this thing here? And it's just some asshole manning the the gun turret. So when we come down here, I suspect this guy's a carbon copy. This guy here, because we already took care of that guy. He already, you know, that's the second guy we killed. I don't know what happened, but when we come in here, you're going to be executing an enemy. And I think that's what, like, only the second time we've done that. We did it in the prologue, and maybe my mind is misgiving me, but that was a single attempt, although it took several attempts. Like, it took about 6 times to get that so that I got it on my first try. But now we're going to be making our way out of this facility. So the F1 grenades are extremely helpful here. When you're doing the executions, like that one in particular, where there's a checkpoint immediately, I think you should get one shot, and if you fail that shot, it should say failed. You know, I wouldn't be that harsh otherwise in other parts of the game where maybe the checkpoint was a lot crueler. But anyway, so this part here, it's, you know, it's sort of like it's run and gun. That's exactly what it is. And since run and gun is the hardest aspect of this game, just because it's not as fleshed out as the other parts, you're gonna probably have some troubles here. But if you can get clear of this room, you will secure a checkpoint. I wish there was some kind of a sub-weapon that you would throw it and it would stun enemies, like, not necessarily in a fog, because then that would obscure our vision and we can't see through fog. I mean, there's no other vision in this game that I know of so far. But you know, like in Ghost Recon, you had your magnetic view, which is extremely helpful. That right there is a blind fire. It's extremely ineffective. And the chapter is just about wrapped up. They're going to give you a checkpoint in this next room here. And when we were actually entering this room, they gave us a checkpoint right here too. So it's a checkpoint in the same location. And this can be pretty difficult to get out of here. As you can see, they're already firing. But in this game's defense, there really isn't a ton of enemies. There's just like 6. But since one enemy can kill you in, I don't know how long it is, like 2 seconds, maybe, literally like 2 seconds, just like 2 seconds worth of gunfire and you're dead. You know, that balances out the difficulty. You don't need to be killed in 2 seconds and have 30 guys trying to shoot you. Have some restraint, and this game has that restraint. And it's a gorgeous way of doing things, and I want to thank you guys for sticking with me on the 6th chapter. I will see you in the 7th. Take care.